I'm going to give a second for a couple more people to come in and take their seats. So, good morning and welcome to Splash Day Sunday. I'm Steve Daniel. I'm a worship associate here at Horizon, and we're excited to welcome you to our worship service this morning. We're so glad to have you with us today, whether you're joining us for the first time, in person or virtually, or whether you've come here longer than you can remember. Here at Horizon, we welcome people of all faiths and of no faiths in particular. Whoever you are, wherever you are on your journey, you are welcome among us. And a quick announcement, the letter writing project, it showed up as 3 o'clock in some announcement. It's actually going to be taking place at noon out in the lobby area. So that'll be at noon instead of at 3 o'clock. So you don't actually have to return to church. You can stay here and do the letter writing campaign. It's the Get Out the Vote letter writing campaign. So I'll pass it on to Mary Blow for the call to worship.
Good morning. The reading is called To Risk. It comes from our hymnal, our gray hymnal, number 658, Words and Deeds of Prophetic Women and Men. To laugh is to risk appearing the fool. To weep is to risk appearing sentimental. To reach out for another is to risk exposing our true self. To place our ideas, our dreams before the crowd is to risk loss. To love is to risk not being loved in return. To hope is to risk despair. To try is to risk failure. To live is to risk dying. Anonymous. Stephen, we will now light the chalice. Our chalice lighting this morning is written by a UU minister, Eric A. Heller Wagner. Blessed is the fire that burns deep in the soul. It is the flame of the human spirit touched into being by the mystery of life. It is the fire of reason, the fire of compassion, the fire of community, the fire of justice, the fire of faith. It is the fire of love burning deep in the human heart, the divine glow in every life. May it be so. Now, if you will say with me our affirmation. Love is the doctrine of our church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in harmony with the earth. Thus do we covenant together. Our opening hymn is number 410 in the gray hymnal, Surprised by Joy.
Here we stand to Good morning. My name is Lauren Daniel. I'm the Director of Lifespan Religious Education. And before I ask the young and young at heart to come up for a story, I just wanted to remind everyone that we partner with MetroCrest Services to make a difference in our local community. So if you feel so moved, we always invite you to bring shelf-stable food items, personal care products, personal sanitary products, and like baby wipes and diapers. And so at this time, I would like to invite the kids and the young at heart to come up front. And if you have some donations for MetroCrest, would you hand it to them and put them in this basket? All right.
Thank you. Well, good morning. Let's see, it's on? All right. So, last week, some of you all were here and we had the blessing of the backpacks. I wonder if you all put your tags on your backpacks this week. Did anyone? Raise your hand if you did. Okay. All right. I did too. I actually began, this sounds really wild, but I began my 24th year of school last week. Okay. I counted it up and figured that's how many years I've been going to school. I am a lifetime passionate lover of learning. And so when I was thinking this week about what I'd like to tell you all, I wanted to start with just, I myself, after high school, after a trip to Alaska, I felt like I was supposed to be a teacher. And so I went to school to study to be a teacher, and I taught kids just like y'all. I taught elementary, middle school, high school, and I did that for about 20 years, and I really loved it. And then I took some time off, and I did a lot of caregiving with my family, and then decided to go back to school. And now I'm at Bright Divinity School in Fort Worth, studying to be a chaplain, affiliated with the UU Church, I'm hoping, and particularly with children. I hope to do work in the hospitals with kids. So I was thinking about what to tell you all this week, and I actually thought about when I was in first grade, and I actually brought a picture of myself. Here is my first grade class. And my mom, being the detail woman she was, she wrote everybody's name. And so when I was looking at this picture a couple weeks ago, starting to prepare for this, I was just remembering all the people. I was remembering the bully who used to stop me on my way home and say mean things to me. I was thinking about the friends that I got to go to their house and meet their families and play with them and have play dates. And I was just thinking about the teacher, my first grade teacher, and what an impact she made on my life. And so, you know, I was thinking, what was my favorite thing about first grade? Anyone guess what? It was something new to me. Anyone guess here what it might be? Not being bullied? Well, no, I was bullied in first grade. I did get bullied, yeah. Okay, yeah, we all have our turns with that, don't we? Yes, what did you think of? Not being the baby. That's right, because kindergarten is the baby. I actually went to another school for kindergarten, but first grade was my neighborhood school. And so in first grade, the thing that I really loved was show and... Yes. Okay, show and tell. That was the first time I ever got to do show and tell. And the teacher had a rug, and we would all go over to that rug and sit in a circle. And I really loved show and tell. We would do it on Fridays, and we would bring something from home that we wanted to share with our teacher and our classmates. So, when I was thinking about this, I thought what I really wanted to share with y'all is the first book report. And this is my show and tell. This is actually my first book report in this little newspaper that my mom saved in a scrapbook. And it's A Kiss for Little Bear. So it was reviewed by me. At that time, my name was Mary Eddy. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about this story, A Kiss for Little Bear. But one thing that I want to point out is there's a lot of kissing in this book. And in the OWL curriculum, which is our UU sexuality curriculum, starting in kindergarten, we talk about something called consent. Does anyone want to say another word that might mean consent? That might make that clear? Permission. Permission. So when you're kissing people, you need to ask permission before you just kiss people. And this book has a lot of kissing in it. So we will think about that. It's illustrated by Maurice Sendak, one of the all-time best illustrators, in my opinion. And so I'm going to just tell you a little bit about A Kiss for Little Bear. There's a picture up. It's a little bear sitting at his easel, and he decides to draw this picture, and the picture that he ends up with is this picture. And he said this picture makes him really, really happy. What's it look like a picture of? A bear? Maybe. A monster. A monster. Yeah, and he said that that monster made him really happy. Maybe he was like a future Stephen King. So that monster, he decides to give it to the person in his life, one of his very most favorite people, his grandma. And so he rolls up that picture, and Mrs. Hen is there, and he says, Mrs. Hen, could you please take this picture and deliver it to grandmother? So, little bear rolls that up, puts it on Hen's back, and Hen goes off to deliver the mail. And she takes the mail over to grandmother, and grandmother is so thrilled with this gift, and she says, oh my gosh, I am going to give you a kiss of thanks to take to little bear. So she kisses Hen on the back, and hopefully with consent, and then goes down the road, and is going to take the kiss to little bear. Well, you know, Hen, she's kind of the town gossip. She gets involved with her little friends as she's trying to get to little bear's house, and gets sidetracked and decides she has some errands to run. And so she says, you know, Frog, could you help me out? Could you take this kiss to little bear? So Hen kisses Frog on the back and heads down the road. Meanwhile, Frog says, man, it's a really hot day, like we have in Texas, and says, I feel like going swimming. So Frog jumps into the water, and then he sees the cat, Mr. Cat. He says, you know, Mr. Cat, I could really use your help. I have a deed to do for Mrs. Hen, and I need to take this kiss to little bear, and so will you come get the kiss, and then you can take it down the road and help? Well, Mr. Cat jumps into the water, not his favorite thing, and gets the kiss, retrieves the kiss from Frog, and then begins to head down the road. However, as cats like to do, he says, it's my time to take a nap. So he finds a comfy place in the woods, and little skunk comes along, and so the cat says, hey, little skunk, could you please take this kiss to little bear? This is something I'm working on. I need your help. So he kisses little skunk, and little skunk starts to go down the road when little skunk sees another little skunk. She was very pretty. And he said, could I kiss you? And then little skunk said, can I kiss you back? And they gave each other a couple of kisses, and then Hen came along and said, too much kissing. But this is little bear's kiss from his grandma, said little skunk. Indeed, said Hen. And who has it now? Looking at the two skunks. And little skunk said he had it. And then Hen took that kiss back from little skunk, and Hen ended up giving the kiss to little bear. And Hen said, that's from grandmother. It is for the picture that you sent her. And then little bear bends down and says, take one back to her. And Hen says, no, it gets too mixed up. So meanwhile, the skunks decide to get married. And they have an absolutely lovely wedding. And of course, all the community comes, all those little kiss deliverers. And in the end, little bear is back at the easel, makes this beautiful little drawing for his friends. It says, love from little bear. And after little Mr. and Mrs. Skunk get married, little bear goes up to Mrs. Skunk and says, may I have permission to give you a kiss of congratulations? And little bear says, yes, indeed. So, this year you're going to have a lot of first things. And for me, in first grade, the first thing was doing a book report. So my little book report was, this book is about a kiss that little bear sent to his grandma. My favorite part in the book is where the skunks get married and bear kisses the bride. I would recommend this book because it helps you learn how to read. The pictures are funny too. And the person wrote to me back, and the editor said, thank you, Mary, please bring the certificate you've received to the Book Nook and choose a free book for sending in your review. So this Book Nook makes me think a little bit of our own Ann Pettis, who runs our book Nook out in the foyer every Sunday. We had that in our school. We actually had a bookstore, and I really loved it. And so for writing a report, they would pick one per month, and then that person would get a free book. So as you're thinking about things this year and you have first events, I hope that you will have a good experience with those first experiences in school, and also that you'll be rewarded in a wonderful way for your efforts. So, Mrs. Lauren, you want to tell them what they are to do next for Splash Day?
Yes, thank you. And thank you all for listening so well. Thank you, Mary. Today is a very special day. You can tell by the way I'm dressed. We're having our postponed back-to-school splash. So if there's anybody 5 and under, you are to report to the nursery because the caregivers are having a mini splash day for them. And all you over here, what I'm going to ask you to do is go back to your families, get your towels if you brought them or anything like that, and meet us in the lobby. Don't go down to your class, it's to your lobby. So let's go ahead and sing the children out to the lobby.
We come now to our time in our service where we share our gifts. The offering will now be joyfully given and received.
As a kind of an introduction to the first reading, Marcia Falk, who is the author of the Song of Songs, Love Lyrics from the Bible, says, although Western tradition typically assigns the role of artist to men and the role of muse to women, such dualisms do not pertain in the world of the song. There, female speakers describe their beloveds as imaginatively and inventively as do their male counterparts. Taken as a whole, the poems of the song express strikingly non-sexist attitudes towards heterosexual love and, by implication, toward human relations of all kinds. So here begins the reading. It's Song of Solomon, chapter 7, verses 1 through 13 from the Hebrew Bible. How graceful are your feet in sandals, O queenly maiden. Your rounded thighs are like jewels, the work of a master hand. Your navel is a rounded bowl that never lacks mixed wine. Your belly is a heap of wheat, encircled with lilies. Your two breasts are like two fawns, twins of a gazelle. Your neck is like an ivory tower. Your eyes are pools in Heshbon, by the gate of Bethrabim. Your nose is like a tower of Lebanon, overlooking Damascus. Your head crowns you like Carmel, and your flowing locks are like purple. How fair and pleasant you are, O beloved one, delectable maiden. You are stately as a palm tree, and your breasts are like its clusters. I say, I will climb the palm tree and lay hold of its branches. Oh, may your breasts be like clusters of the vine, and the scent of your breath like apples, and your kisses like the best wine that goes down smoothly, gliding over lips and teeth. I am my beloved's, and his desire for me. Come, my beloved, let us go forth into the fields and lodge in the villages. Let us go out early to the vineyards and see whether the vines have budded, whether the grape blossoms have opened, and the pomegranates are in bloom. The mandrakes give forth fragrance, and over our doors are all the choice fruits, new as well as old, which I have laid up for you, O my beloved.
Thank you, Stephen. All right, we've come to our time where we have some silence, so we'll just take a minute to just be quiet. This is also the time of joys and sorrows in our community. We want to celebrate this week Menica and Bhaskar's 26th wedding anniversary. Congratulations, that is definitely a milestone. And Karen, and I want to say your name right, Karen. Thank you. And Kent Darwin enjoyed exhibiting some of their art in the sanctuary during the month of August. And they will take down their exhibit after the church service today. So if you haven't had a chance to get a good look, go around after the service and look at their beautiful artwork that they've shared with us. Thank you. Now we will have our spoken prayer. Source of life, flame of our faith, lover of creation, call us into the community of love and justice this morning and every morning. We are thankful for this new day, for time to slow down, reflect, sing, and be together with our faith community. Invite us to remember that our faith calls us to love with a healing love. Help us to mindfully use our gifts and talents in the service of others and in our world. May we have courage to take action with next steps in our faith journeys today and every day. Be with our world that has so many conflicts, tragedies, and troubling divisions. Pave paths of peace and understanding. May it be so, and blessed be. Please open your hymnals to the Spirit of Life, hymn 123, for our response. The second reading is from the Spiritual Canticle by John of the Cross. Verse 38, "There you will let me see what my soul has longed for. There will you give me, there you my life, what you told me of that day. The air's breathing, the sweet nightingale's song, the grove and its loveliness, in the calm of night, with a flame that fires without pain." Social scientists estimate that approximately every 15 minutes, humans make a decision. That decision often involves making a choice of who to put first, someone else or ourselves. Today I'm going to talk about love. The first love we'll reflect on is the romantic love as described in the ancient poem from the Song of Solomon, also known as the Song of Songs, from the Hebrew scriptures that Stephen read a selection from this morning. The second love we'll be reflecting on involves an altruistic love, or what I call healing love, embodied in the second reading written by John of the Cross. As you heard earlier in the Time for All Ages, I've been in seminary for the last several years, preparing to be a UU-affiliated chaplain. As I mentioned, I'm currently beginning my 4th year at Bright Divinity School in Fort Worth. But I started my seminary training 5 years ago at Hartford Seminary in the Women's Leadership Institute with founder Sister Miriam Therese Winter of the Medical Mission Sisters out of Philadelphia. Known as MT, she introduced ecumenical and cross-cultural emphasis in theory and practice, and then developed feminist and multi-faith approaches that have culminated in what she calls a quantum perspective. It was my time in a women's journey group at Horizon that was led by Andrea Dodds that inspired that decision to fly to Hartford once a month and learn from MT with a group of 9 women who I feel their wings are underneath me this morning. This past spring, I had an opportunity to take a course called Eros of God, the Song of Songs in Christian and Jewish Spirituality at Bright. As you may have guessed by now, this sermon is the fruitful result of the time that I spent learning in this class. In the Song of Songs, a biography by Professor Lana Pardes, who teaches comparative literature at the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, we learn that readers have indeed been drawn to the song for many centuries. Rabbis, church fathers, mystics, nuns, scholars, poets, writers, musicians, artists, and readers from all walks of life have been charmed by the song and have extolled it as the ultimate song of love, endorsing the song's own definition of itself as Shir HaShirim, the song that surpasses all other songs. Whether searching for divine love, early love, or both, readers have turned to the song as the definitive expression of their amorous experiences, as an infinitely rich turf upon which to explore the diverse facets of love. It is in Marcia Falk's book, The Song of Songs, Love Lyrics from the Bible, that it is mentioned that although God's name is not mentioned even once in the lines of Song of Songs, the rabbis of the first century chose to include it in the biblical canon, citing the renowned Rabbi Akiva's impassioned statement that all the world is not worth the day on which the Song of Songs was given to the people of Israel. For all the writings are holy, but the song is the holy of holies. Let's dig a little deeper into the information about the background history of Song of Songs. It was originally thought that King Solomon wrote this poem sometime during his reign, which was between 970 and 931 before the Common Era. However, Lanus Pardes informs us that most scholars today define the song as an anthology of love poems that were composed and culled by sundry hands over many centuries. The song's beginnings may have been early, possibly even during Solomon's reign in the 10th century, but the final stages of its composition and editing must have been late, somewhere between the 5th and 4th centuries, given that there are many terms pertaining to the latter strata of biblical Hebrew or borrowed from the Persian and Greek. So the authorship originally associated to Solomon, because of his reputation as a poet and composer of songs, has since been dismissed by many scholars. His name was originally attached to the Song of Songs to give it textual authority and validity. Pardes describes Song of Songs as a collection of love poems that revolves around a dialogue between two young lovers, the Shulamite, as the beloved is called, and her nameless lover. There is something utterly refreshing in the frank celebration of love that is found in the passionate exchanges of the two. Nowhere else in the Bible are bodily parts, hair, nose, eyes, lips, tongue, breasts, thighs, set on a pedestal. Nowhere else are the sensual pleasures of love, tastes, colors, sounds, perfumes relished with such joy. Nowhere else is sexual desire spelled out with so much verve. And yet sexuality is never blatant in the song. Instead, we find a nuanced combination of audacity, innocence, and decorum made possible by a spectacular metaphoric web that allows two lovers to be direct and indirect at once. The passage that Stephen read earlier is toward the end of the Song of Songs, which has 8 chapters. It is one of my favorite chapters because in chapter 7, verse 10, something unusual occurs. When we look back to Genesis, the first book of the Hebrew Scriptures, Genesis 3:16 speaks of woman's romantic desire will be for her husband. But in Song of Songs, the woman reverses the comment and even the tradition by saying, I am my beloved's and his desire is for me. That's what I call confidence and a healthy self-esteem. One of the wonderful things about Unitarian Universalism is that we empower our congregations through OWL, which is a human sexuality curriculum that stands for our whole lives. That acknowledges that we are sexual beings, and we begin teaching as young as kindergarten age through high school an age-appropriate and healthy understanding of our sexuality through this curriculum. The description in verses 7, 2 through 5 is known as wasf, W-A-S-F, which is an ancient Arabic-style poem that describes the body part by part. So the physical feature of the person is mentioned, and then an elaborate poetic description is given. This technique of wasf is seen throughout all Near Eastern ancient poetry. Now we'll reflect on the second reading from John of the Cross, who was a mystic monk living in Spain during the Middle Ages. Mark S. Burroughs is the author of a chapter entitled Abandonment and Abundance in John of the Cross's Spiritual Canticle in my Professor Robinson's recently published book, which was in 2021, in which he was the editor. The book is entitled A Companion to the Song of Song in the History of Spirituality. Burroughs tells the story of probably the very lowest time in John's life, when he was working on reform in the Carmelite order with the nun who originally headed the reforms, Teresa Avila. Some of his cohorts that were against the reform kidnapped John in December of 1577 and held him hostage and imprisoned him, even torturing him for many months in the small village of Toledo, Spain. After 8 months, he was able to escape. However, during this agonizing time, he drew upon the Song of Songs that he had memorized. He wrote a new scripture that Burroughs said was inspired by the song, but shaped by the poet's experience. John of the Cross was not simply known as an important Catholic theologian of that period, but he was also among the most celebrated poets of the golden age of Spanish literature. The spiritual canticle speaks of two lovers that have deeply wounded one another, but then after time apart, they come back together, and their love has matured. They now are able to love in an altruistic way with a flame that fires without pain. This image on the screen, well, we'll see if it goes up. There's an image on the screen. There you go, thank you. This image on the screen is an art project that came out of my class this past spring. It is a linoleum cut. It is also displayed on the altar. I found it to be a meditative and soothing experience to work on an art project with my hands toward the end of the semester when one is feeling weary of writing papers. I was pleased that Dr. Robinson chose to have not only papers as assignments, but also he assigned the class to complete a creative, open-ended project. Project presentation time was so interesting and enjoyable. When I was a young child growing up in Evanston, a suburb of Chicago, my mother placed a large card in our window that showed that our home was a safe house if a child was ever lost, being bullied, or needed help. The symbol on the card was a blue handprint, which we placed on the window facing our street. It had been given to my mom by our school district where my three brothers and I attended. I remember how safe it made me feel to see the sign on other neighbors' windows as we were walking back and forth the half mile to our school. Symbols are important. Symbols have meaning. The story of the Unitarian Universalist chalice is known as the healing cup, the story of the flaming chalice. During the Second World War, some Unitarians got together in Boston, Massachusetts, to form the Unitarian Service Committee, which still exists today. Their plan was to help the people in Europe who were in danger due to the Nazis. The director of the service committee was the Unitarian minister, Charles Joy. Reverend Joy commissioned a very talented artist named Hans Dutch to create a symbol that would transcend language barriers to help people understand through the official symbol those who worked for the service committee and could offer help, as well as to help make the organization look more official on their paperwork. The symbol that Hans Dutch came up with was a chalice or a cup that was used for giving a healing drink to others. And it showed a flame on the top of the chalice because a flame is often used to represent a spirit of helpfulness and self-sacrifice. So the flaming chalice became the official symbol of the Unitarian Service Committee in the 1940s. Come along with me into the 1970s, and the Unitarian Universalists, by this time, had heard the story of the flaming chalice symbol and began lighting a flaming chalice as part of the worship services in their churches. This practice in our present day has spread over most of the United States and Canada. The healing cup and flaming chalice is a fire that strives to be a flame that fires without pain and is driven by an altruistic, selfless love toward others. As we remember, the social scientists estimate that every 15 minutes we make a decision as humans, and that decision often involves a choice of who to put first, ourselves or someone else. Calculating numerically, that would mean we have 64 opportunities a day to strive toward selfless love when we are prompted if we sleep at least 8 hours in a 24-hour period. So for myself, my greatest turning points of growth emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, and creatively have been when I've been pushed to consider others before myself. They have been the most challenging times of my life, and certainly the life of my family, as we face being learning divergent, medical mishaps, cancer crisis, a heart valve replacement, mental health issues, among other concerns. It has been at these times of facing a fork in the road, such as these greatest of human dilemmas and challenges, that everything that one has the potential to become can kick in. I am certain within this room and the rooms this service is being streamed to, that we are all thinking of great challenges each one of us has faced, and how sometimes we became people of capability beyond what we might have imagined. Also, in all honesty, we may be thinking also about how we failed in those times when we needed to step up, or we are remembering the experience of others not being there for us. If those failures have come to mind, we must remember to give ourselves grace as humans, because we are all a mix of kind, inconsiderate, selfish, and selfless. Let's allow our flaming chalice daily to remind us to strive toward selfless love when we are prompted. Archbishop Desmond Tutu of South Africa, who recently passed in December of 2021, said, "Do your little bit of good where you are. It's those little bits of good put together that overwhelm the world." May it be so, and amen. Our closing hymn is Now Let Us Sing, number 368.
So quickly, the choir is going to go through the first part one time, and then we're going to join on the second round. We're doing the white words, and the choir is going to be singing the yellow words. Okay?
Now let us sing, 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 sing. Now let us sing, 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 sing. Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing.
Sing to the power of the faith within.
Now let us sing.
Sing to the power of the faith within.
Lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us sing to the power of the faith within. Now let us sing
To the power of the hope within.
Now let us
Sing to the power of the hope within.
lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us
Sing to the power of the hope within.
Now let us
Sing to the power of the love within.
Now let us
Sing to the power of the love within.
lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us
Sing to the power of the love within.
Now let us
Sing to the power of the joy within.
Now let us
Sing to the power of the joy within.
lift up your voice, be not afraid. Now let us
Sing to the power of the joy within.
We're coming to the end of our service, so typically we repeat our mission and then vision statements, so please repeat after me. We extinguish this flame, but not our commitment to welcome radically, love boldly, grow spiritually, and serve courageously. We envision a beloved community filled with compassion, helping all to thrive in a just world.
All right, friends. Before we go, I want to challenge us this week. Everyone here has next steps. We have opportunities, 64 opportunities, according to the social scientists, to think about others instead of doing something for ourselves, although doing things for ourselves is good too. So these are what I call next steps. And I just wanted to bring just this little spirit of joy that I experienced this summer. I had this really special opportunity to travel with my brother and my nephew to Alaska, and we worked at youth camps. That's where everything started for me when I was 18 or 19, working at camps in Alaska. That's how I decided to become a teacher. So to go back now and work with youth again at 55, and have the joy of working with youth and knowing I'm going into ministry, chaplaincy, it was really a great experience for me. But at the end of our camps, our last day, we always do something. And I'm going to ask us to do this. It's a call and response. We have a joyful spirit on the last day of camps. We celebrate all of the things that the kids have learned with basketball skills, and we also celebrate next step decisions they've made to be more involved in their communities, to be better helpers in their families. We called it being better people, and we brought that message of hope to the kids. So I'm going to say next, and then you all will respond back steps, and we'll do it 3 times. And 2 of my players are here this morning, my coach brother, Michael Eddy, and Carter. So I'll ask them to say next with me, and then everyone else will say steps. Okay? 1, 2, 3. Next.
Steps.
Next.
Steps.
Next.
Steps.
Woo, and we always clap. All right, that was really a lot of joy. Thank you. Friends, because of those who came before, we are. In spite of their failings, we believe. Because of and in spite of the horizons of their vision, we too dream. Let us go remembering to praise, to live in the moment, to love mightily, to bow to the mystery. Go in peace. Amen.